everybody, I'm Toluca from Markers and Minions, and this evening or today I polled the group and I asked what people need support with, what they're struggling with, and I had over 200 votes for small groups. So I've had videos on small groups in the past. I've done I think like 3 or 4 videos on small groups over the last 2 years, but I wanted to open up the discussion again tonight because it's still something that's so challenging. It's always challenging, even when we feel like we've got a really good system going. It becomes you want to switch it up a little bit. It becomes problematic because of X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be. I'm going to start this video by just going over a couple of notes that I made here on different ways that you can structure your whole group time, small group time, and then materials that was brought up as well. And then I have like a sample rotation schedule. So I'm just going to talk about those 3 main things, and then we can keep the conversation ongoing on this thread even after I sign off from the video. And yeah, so if you've got any specific questions around small groups or guided reading, basically your workshop, right? The workshop model, just post it in the comments, and if I have an answer, I'll try to answer. Otherwise, hopefully people will read through comments, share ideas, share concerns, etc. All right. Hi, Colleen, you're in. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Nina. Hey, Gail. Hi, friends. Okay, so the 3 main things, as I said, that I saw brought up were how to structure the small group time, the workshop time, materials, and I think it was like how many groups to work with, do you continue on from the whole group lesson, okay, etc. So rotations. All right, so here's what I came up with, and I just typed this up before jumping on the video, just because this is how my brain works. This is how I take notes. I have this available. I can email it to you all afterwards if you want. But so, different ways of structuring the workshop time. So a workshop model classroom, the goal of a workshop model classroom is to allow students to practice the skills and the strategies that they're learning. And then the second goal is to allow time and an opportunity for you as the teacher to meet with students in order to differentiate in some way, whether that be through guided reading, ELD, guided writing, conferring, assessing high frequency words, doing a running record, whatever that is, okay? So, or, reading aloud. Sometimes I use my small group time to read aloud to my, my 9 kiddos with IEPs that needed the tests read to them, things like that. So those are your goals, right? So I came up with 3 methods on how to structure this so that you get that time in your classroom. So method 1, and I've put numbers here to show like the steps, so what you and the kids are doing. So step 1, whole class, you'd be doing like, say, your phonics lesson or whatever lesson you want to start with. Step 2, you'd break off into your stations, and the kids are working on the word work, okay? And you could have them all doing word work, or you can have them visiting another station, however you wish to do that. Then you come back, you do a reading lesson, same thing, go to a station. Come back, do a writing lesson, go to a station. Meanwhile, while the kids are at a station, simultaneously, see it's the same color, you as the teacher are pulling group. So that's one of the ways, and that's kind of the way that the benchmark trainers will lay it out for you: whole group, small group, whole group, small group. Method 2 is it's the same thing, but instead of going into a station, the kids are, let my dog finish. the kids are working independently at their seat. So some teachers, it doesn't work for them to have their kids go and travel to a workstation. I have to yell at my dog, hold on. So, and it's totally fine to just have them continue to sit at their seats or at their tables and work on that independent practice. Give me a second. Shh. Stop it. No. Okay. So, it's my ferocious guard dog. All right, so instead of having them go to a station, they're just continuing their work at their seat. And then the third method is what I like to do, and that's teach all the mini lessons while I have their attention. So back to back, let's do phonics or spelling, reading, writing. Then we have our structured station time where the kids are transitioning and they get to where they need to go. And then that's when I simultaneously, right, I pull my groups. Okay, so those are the three methods. Basically, the difference is here, these two are flip-flop between whole group, small group, and here's where they're at a station, here's where they're just working at their seat, and here, this third method is when you do all your whole class, then you break off in your small groups. Okay, so during the independent time, that independent time can be the independent practice portion of your lesson. So in your TRS in the spread at the very end, there's the independent practice. So you can have the students immediately transition into doing that independent work. So I feel like this is going to be this is going to look the most traditional because that's kind of, I would think or assume, what teachers are more used to, where you are guiding students through a lesson and then you say, okay, like consider math for a moment. And then you say, okay, I did questions 1 through 3 with you. Now I would like for you to do 4 through 10. And so that independent time, the follow-up to your lesson, their benchmark has that as well. Like they have the independent opportunity there. And so during that time, that's when you can pull groups. You could also do daily 5-style activities using skills from benchmark. So you'll see a lot of that suggested in this group. That's certainly what I did because I took my knowledge and training from daily 5 and I was like, okay, how can I make this work with benchmark? So I kept the traditional stations, word work, read to self, technology, or listening, and I adapted them so that they're using the specific skills and strategies from benchmark. And that's truly why I made all these materials, because I was like, wait, I need to figure out a way to like make it so that these fit into my daily 5 stations. So I made like the word work pamphlets, etc. So all those things, if you're doing like the daily 5 model, that's where those come into play. And then also in independent time, this is when they can be working on a project. Although I put an asterisk here thinking like not all the time though. It's nice to bring in one of those inquiry-based projects or PBL unit that the kids can work on, you know, during that independent time while you're pulling a group. But I wouldn't say to do that like every week because you do want them to be following up with the whole group lessons and the skills from that week. Okay. And then I also wrote, so the teacher time. What are you doing when you're pulling a group? So while your kids are either at a center or they're, you know, sitting at their desks working independently on whatever their task is quietly, you're in some area of your room pulling a group. That can be conferencing, conferring. So like the readers or the writers workshop, if you have that background, that's where you're having your like one-on-one conference time. I also wrote here that you could be, you know, checking a student's writing, go over their draft, give them feedback, assess, quick checks, fluency, etc. Guided reading, you can do guided writing, and you can do your designated ELD. So those were the options I came up with for like what you're doing versus what the kids are doing. All right. Next, I have materials. So it was asked what the kids are using, and benchmark, the way that benchmark is designed is like it's very open-ended. So you're bringing in or you're creating a lot of the materials. If you don't like what's on the in the practice tab. So I'll preface by saying if you go on Benchmark Universe in the practice tab, there are a few things that the kids can do during the independent time. Great. There's also the independent practice part of the lesson. There's also, here I broke it down from the curriculum, from my stuff, and then other ideas. So inquiry-based projects, if you look in the additional resources tab of the TRS, there are usually 3 to 4 projects that take the unit concept and try to connect it to social studies and science. So there are project ideas in there, not materials, but ideas at least. The kids can write a response to the essential question, connecting it to that week's text. So you can literally, like, sometimes Benchmark will say, like, you know, I think in the first few couple weeks, there's like the reader response journal, composition notebook, whatever. You can have them answer the essential question each week, connecting it to whatever they just read. Reread the week's text and write a reflection in that journal. Read a leveled reader from the unit and complete one of the independent activities found in the reader's teacher guide. So in the leveled readers, there's a cardstock teacher guide, right? It's also online. You can pull up, once you open up the leveled reader online, you click on the little apple, you can pull up the teacher guide. And in that guide, there's a list of independent, you know, basically seat work that kids can do using that leveled reader. There's also like 3 more writing prompts the kids can write to using that leveled reader. So if you open up the reader, and there's going to be an informational, opinion, and a narrative, I'm pretty sure, separate prompts for that reader. Am I being clear? My brain's moving a mile a minute. So there's stuff that, and personally, I never even tapped into that, like when I was teaching this, but that is there if you're ready for more stuff to take on. You can have the kids complete one of the ELD worksheets as a follow-up. So that's something that they could be doing. You can incorporate the Benchmark technology. So listen to the weekly text, listen to the leveled reader, and specific to primary, you can assign those interactive learning games. The kids can watch those Heidi songs videos. And then I also wrote that you can give them reader skitter books. So that's another option for them to be doing independently practicing that comes from the curriculum. From my stuff, because I get a lot of questions these days because people are that are just starting with Benchmark, they see everything that I've created and they're equally as overwhelmed with all of my stuff as they are with Benchmark stuff, which is terrible because that's so not how I ever intended it to be, but just over the years I've made so much. So if you do use my stuff, which you don't need to, right? There's all these ideas that I just came up with, plus the few things on the practice tab. You can, the things that I have kind of segue nicely into your small group time. So if you're using the close reading companions, you can start them whole group and then have it be an independent practice task. Same with the word work pamphlet. With those, I just I do a couple examples, but then that is completely independent. There's the writing booklets that's meant to be used during your whole group lesson, and that can be continued on or worked on in the small group time. They can reread the week's text and answer the questions on that bookmark, text questions bookmark. They could read a free choice book, which is like the kids need opportunities to read what they want to read still. So this is important to weave that into your block as well, into your small group time. Let them read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, whatever it is, and then they can do the lift a line, or they could do a response to reading those question strip things. Just write a reflection, a book recommendation, whatever. Of my resources incorporating tech, they can do a slide from the digital maps for literacy centers, that deck that I created. So that has spelling, grammar, comprehension, writing. They can just do one slide or something. And then also, I almost forgot about these, but I made the word cards. Remember, if you have the focus walls, I updated them a while back. I think they're in here. Yeah. So these word cards, these little guys, they're the spelling and the vocabulary, and then in first grade, the high frequency words. The kids can cut these out, do word sorts. They can highlight the spelling patterns. They can play quiz trade, which is a Kagan strategy where they hold a card and they have to say, they go to a partner in their team and they say, okay, spell mean. And the partner goes M-E-A-N. Okay, correct. Then they quiz you and then you trade. So when you trade cards, then you go and quiz somebody else. You can do that with spelling. You can just say, you do it with vocab. What does this word mean? Or use this word in a sentence. Quiz, trade. Okay, so that's another activity that uses the weekly stuff. Okay, and then other ideas that I've seen. Spelling City, there's a free version and a paid version, but the free version has the benchmark spelling on there that you can use, so that involves using the computer. Record book reviews on Seesaw or Flipgrid. Complete a team task, and we've been talking about this lately in the group a little bit, so kids can create a poster together where they're writing down the key details and main idea, or they're analyzing character, making a poster together, whatever that is. That's another idea, so teamwork, or working on a project. They can research something related to your unit topic during that independent time. They could do 4-corner vocabularies, like the 4 squares, using the vocabulary words. And then I also wrote on here, anything else that makes you think, oh, I really miss doing XYZ, or the kids love doing XYZ, but where can I fit that in? So prioritize that and figure out a way to connect it to your unit topic. And there you go. That's another idea for that independent time. All right, and sample rotation schedule. So I just typed this up because I figured why not? It goes well. I don't really know if that was specifically something that people needed help with, but anyway, rotation schedule. So this is just a hypothetical scenario where there are 3 rotations a day and then 4 leveled groups. So I level them, and I don't want to offend anyone with wording. So you level them, you word it however you're comfortable with, but I have below, medium, below, on level, and above. And then I also wrote here that if you have ELs, and you need to do ELD, first of all, let me say, I've had a class where my whole class was was ELD. So I taught ELD just separately 45 minutes a day. So that's not something I could do in centers. If you've got just a group, you can use your center time, and you can bring in as many rotations as needed to meet with all of your different levels of ELD as well. Okay, so day 1, first of all, you're going to want to meet with your below kids every day, right? And then it alternates. So below, medium, below, and on level, day 1, day 3, and day 5. So you're meeting with those kids 3 days a week, the medium, below, and the on levels 3 days a week. And then day 2 and day 4, you're medium, below. Oh, look, I made it so that you're meeting with medium, belows every day too. That's a good idea too. And then you're meeting with your above kiddos, day 2 and day 4. This is just hypothetical, but this is what I've seen. This is the kind of thing that I've seen being done if you're doing several rotations a day, which if you've been following me a while, you know that I don't, because it's just personal preference. I do 1 rotation a day, and that's all I can handle. Okay, Colleen says, do you do skills or reading levels? So you have the ability to you have the choice, I will say, to use your guided reading time for what you see fit. You can have it be skill-based, where you are working on a standard from that unit. Say like unit 4 is coming up, point of view, right? So that 0.6 standard. And you're meeting with your groups and you're focusing just on that skill. I like to do reading levels. So I will group my students based on their reading level, and I will pool the leveled readers that are going to be closest to their instructional reading level. And then if you look at the teacher guide with the leveled readers, it has a lesson for every single day. And those lessons do incorporate a lot of the same skills as your whole group time during your unit. So it's nicely connected. Sometimes I didn't even use that. I would just do a continuation. So I would teach a whole group lesson. And I have this on my YouTube channel, actually, as an example of inferencing from Unit 3. I was teaching an inferencing lesson, whole class, and we broke up into our small groups. And in that particular video, I was meeting with my, like, how did I word it? Medium below kids. And we used the level text and like literally continued the lesson. My dog started a chain reaction. Uh-oh. Okay, are all of the things you mentioned in the additional resources? In the additional resources, no. In the additional resources, that's where you'll find the inquiry-based projects in that tab. Also back there, you'll find like other stuff unrelated to tonight's topic, but other goodies you should explore. Where do you have your vocabulary words? Do you mean, Jackie, do you mean those cards? These vocabulary cards I put in my focus wall posters, and I spent the summer updating those and putting in those word cards there. I think that's the only, in my word work pamphlets, I have a section for vocabulary as well. If that, I think that's it though, if that's what you're talking about. Yes, 1 rotation a day, that's how I do it. It worked well for me. It's very specific to what you've got going on, right? I had, I'm not in the classroom anymore, so my last year teaching benchmark, I had, I want to say like 8 or 9 students with IEPs who left my class all the time. Probably 4 of those were, you know, an hour a day gone. So they would just miss a huge chunk of time. And so when they would come back, I had it set up so when they came back, it was right at small group time. And I could be working with them, catching them up, or if I was meeting with someone else that day, I could have them at least near me on the carpet where I could kind of, so it's specific to you. And I know that for my case that year and the couple years that I was doing this, having more than 1 rotation just would have been a lot for me. How long does it take you to do back-to-back mini lessons? So we would start as soon as we came back from recess, 10:40, and we would do this until, we would do our mini lessons until 11:30. So a little over an hour. I mean, a little less than an hour. And then we would do 11:30 to 12 was our small group time. And my spelling lessons were the shortest, and I didn't do spelling every day. I taught 3rd. I did writing every day, and my writing lessons were my 2nd shortest. My longest lessons were my close reading ones. And those were, on a good day, like between 15 and 20 minutes. Sometimes what would happen was we would just be real into what we were doing, and I would say, sorry guys, we can't do small groups today. It happens because we're literally doing maxi lessons because we're all doing what we're doing. So that happens too. Yeah, same thing, right? So when you have a lot of kids that are in and out of your classroom, it's really hard to have your door always opening and closing. Plus, like I had a lot of push and I always had adults in my room. So it's just less chaotic to just do one rotation. Yes, Gail says if you're looking, so previously I mentioned there's the practice tab. And I've been talking about this for 2 years, so I don't want to like I don't want to be redundant, but I'll say it. And sorry if you've heard me say this a million times, but there's the practice tab. So you log into Benchmark Universe, click on your TRS, in the left-hand navigation, you'll see practice. Click on that, and in there, you will find handwriting pages for some grades, cursive pages for some grades. You will find the spelling, grammar, spelling, language, and vocabulary handbook, which are worksheets that you can print off for your spelling words, and not vocabulary words, it's spelling words, and then there's grammar, so grammar worksheets. And then there's also the text-dependent questions, the ones that are on my bookmarks. There's also a one-page PDF in there. If you print those out, you can, I always struggled with just having that one page out. I put it at my guided reading center table, and I would say like, okay, I'm going to remember to incorporate these questions somehow when my kids meet with me. And I never remembered. It was just posted behind me. So that's why I made the bookmarks, but you could take those and turn those into like response sheets. You can put them on Google Slides, something like that. So you can use those questions in that way. Oh yeah, Jackie, I saw that. The high frequency book is no longer online. So I saw that there was something that some of us may have lost on the online platform. And I'm not sure why that would have happened. And oh, speaking of like movement change on the platform, there's also last year, a lot of us got the vocabulary cards for online. Hold on, let me pull that up. And I think you just filter it by whole group. You'll see a vocabulary resource there. Hold on a sec. I think I'm too far from my router. All right, yeah, but so that's on there too. You could use those cards in some way. You can do quiz trade with those. I don't know, you can get creative. All right, so these are, I put these on my email thing. So I will leave the link, and if you want these, I mean, these are just my notes, but if you want them, if they gave you some ideas, they can be emailed to you. So I'll link that. That way it just gets sent to everybody automatically, and I don't have to do it individually. And like I said, this is the official space to discuss small groups. So even after I sign off, feel free to post comments, post questions, respond to other people, post more ideas, etc. Okay. Have a great rest of your weekend, almost over, and a good week, and I'll be around next week. Oh, 2 announcements. Next week, I'm going to do a live video where I'm going to attempt supporting teachers with a combo class. I taught a 2-3 combo, but just like disclaimer, I was not the best at it. And so anyway, a combo teacher who I met online, she lives an hour from me. So I was like, why don't you just come over? And she, like, to my surprise, was like, sure. So she came over, we like cleared everything off my dining room table, and we like made this whole visual schedule. And we're like, okay, 4th graders are gonna do this while 5th graders do this. So we came up with a way of planning, and I'll share what we came up with. And again, I'm not gonna have all the answers. I maybe will only have a couple of answers, but it'll open up the space for discussion. So that'll be next week. And then also in the last week or so, I made another Facebook group where I was like, I need a space to not, like when I open up Facebook, it's not just all benchmark. So I made a different group where it's no benchmark, and it's math and it's art, and like give me all the other ideas and inspiration. So that is something that I will link as well if you're looking for, you know, the same sort of collaborative community, but if you need a little break from what we have going on in this group. All right, so those are my 2 announcements. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you soon. Bye.